Well, let me just say thank you. We really appreciate you all hosting us. I think I'll stall Calista on the way in, and she and I are both delighted to be here. She was just talking to the librarians because she has a new book coming out at the end of the month called Sweet Land of Liberty, which is designed for 5 to 8-year-olds, and has a character called Ellis the elephant who introduces them to American history in a fun kind of way. And so we're talking about coming back to, she's coming back to the library to read to children at some point. And we actually have an elephant costume that looks like Ellis. So she can bring Ellis with her so little kids can get their picture made with Ellis. And, I used to teach history, and it drives me crazy when history's boring. So I get very excited when you can make it exciting. I also want to say, I want to congratulate you. I really like this, citizenship is not a spectator sport. Well, congratulations. I think this is really, really well done. I appreciate the East Side Tea Party and you two in particular arranging this. For any of you who've never met him, I should introduce, where's that? There's Adam Waldeck himself is right here. He is our coordinator nationwide with tea parties, does an amazing job. And I'm very proud of the work he does. I want to talk very briefly about 2 or 3 quick things, then just throw it wide open. And we'll talk, but I want to start with, I've been watching the president the last couple days. And I'm stunned by the combination of arrogance and lack of common sense. I mean, it's an unusual combination. You sometimes find people who are really, really smart and arrogant, or you have people who have no common sense, but they're kind of humble. But, and let me tell you why I got this. I mean, I don't mean to be picking a fight with him, or I don't mean to be nasty. He's the President of the United States. You'd like him to be competent. I mean, it would be good to have a president who understood, first of all, how the Constitution works. There's Article 1 of the Tea Party test. Article 1 is what? Which branch is Article 1?
Legislative.
Legislative. Why do we think the Founding Fathers made Article 1 the legislative branch? Because in peacetime for domestic policy, the elected legislators collectively, 535, preserve freedom better than the single president. And the president, of course, is the second. The third, and least important, is the judiciary. The opposite of the current model of the Supreme Court, which is an arrogation of power to a judicial dictatorship that is absolutely unacceptable. So start with that. Now, because the Founding Fathers designed the legislative branch and the executive branch, if you're going to get a law passed, you have to have the votes of the legislative branch and the signature of the executive, or you have to be able to override the veto. This is not, I mean, for a guy who taught constitutional law, the president should have gotten this part of it. Presidents aren't monarchs. So he comes to joint session. We were actually doing a New Hampshire town hall meeting. And he comes, and we decided we would start it early so everybody could watch his speech. And I thought it was a sign of the shrinking presidency that they scheduled the speech ahead of the NFL football game because they lacked the nerve to ask them to postpone kickoff for an hour. I mean, think about that. The President of the United States says, this is so important, let's have a joint session, and the whole country should watch. But by the way, it's not important enough to slow down the football game. I mean, I just told you something, strange. Anyway, 17 times he said, pass the bill. And there was no bill. So now they've begun to announce the bill. And he says, pass it exactly as we sent it up. And they had his political former campaign manager, Axelrod, goes out and says, the president wants it exactly as it's set up, no changes. Now, first of all, you have to ask the question, who does he think he is? He's not George III. This isn't a monarchy. Second, as a matter of common sense, surely by September he has figured out that Boehner's a Republican. I mean, the idea, think about this, the idea that that the Republican House is going to pass an Obama-written bill that has all sorts of hidden things in it. We just found out, for example, there's an entire section which would tax the sale of investment firms at regular income. That is a jump from 15% to 35%. It's just buried in the bill. We also found, you have it, see, there is an American, oh, can I use it as a prop? I can't. Bless you, my child, I can't stand this opportunity. Give me a hug. What a deal. Okay. So now we have, this should not be called the American Jobs Act. This should either be called the Obama Re-election Part 1 project, or it should be called the Obama Big Government, Bigger Deficit Act. Neither of those is fine, but it's not a jobs bill. So buried in here, first of all, is a tax increase from 15 to 35% if you sell a series of investment firms, which it just happens to be buried in here, which, by the way, means, first of all, nobody would sell any of them. You know, I was asking, how many of you saw the debate the other night in Tampa?
I was there.
You were there? Okay, even better. My favorite moment for me, I mean, the other candidates all did fine, but my favorite moment was when Wolf Blitzer had me on oil. And I looked at him and I said, oh, I thought you were referring to General Electric. Now, I'll make a proposition to the president. If he is against subsidies for energy companies, then we could take away, and I'm not for this because I actually like lower taxes, but if he was at all serious, he could propose to take away all of General Electric's loopholes. Since General Electric actually pays less in taxes than any other major manufacturing firm, and he had the General Electric chairman sitting in the audience while he explained. You think about the level of, the American people are so stupid they'll never figure this out. I mean, so anyway, so you write a bill this thick. It also has a provision in here, by the way, that says you cannot discriminate against people who are unemployed. I didn't make this up. Brady Cassis, who's our research director, sent me a note this morning and said, buried in here is a brand new anti-discrimination clause, which, by the way, means that lawyers get rich, and that no employer is going to have anything to say about anything anymore because they're not going to take the risk. But you have to ask yourself, why would they put it in here? So the idea that they write this fairly dumb bill, and then they don't say, why don't we get together and see if we can do something together? I mean, people ask me, how did Clinton and I get stuff done? Because we had a Republican House and Senate, a liberal Democratic president. We got welfare reform done. We got the first tax cut in 16 years done. We brought unemployment down from 5.6 to 4.2% because the American people created the jobs. We just got out of their way. We balanced the budget for 4 consecutive years, paid off $405 billion. This was a bipartisan project. I'm happy to say if President Clinton hadn't signed it, it wouldn't have happened. But we didn't start by saying, take it or leave it. And Clinton never once sent up something and said to us, you can't change it. Because he knew he would have just rolled on the ground laughing. I mean, he had a good sense of humor. I don't think Obama has a sense of humor. But Clinton clearly had a great sense of humor. So I just want to start with, we're in a period of very strange things which are dangerous. And the reason they're dangerous, you need to pass this back to you. The reason, I don't want you to think I walk off and take your bill. That's a, can I sign it? That makes it a collector's item. There. Anyway.